Hello, friends. Welcome to Kudrath Health Education. This is Dr. Wazir Kudrath. How are you? Now, today's talk, let's psychoanalyze a little bit. Oh, you've just got nervous when I said that. As physicians, we all have varying degrees of obsessive compulsive disorder. Let's talk about that and how this personality trait can distract and mislead us from achieving our objective if it's not properly managed. Now, it's not a crime or it's nothing big to have OCD. It's part of personality traits. The question is if the obsessive compulsive disorder is mismanaged or excessive to the point of being psychotic. Now, why am I saying this? Now, friends, let's talk a little bit about obsessive compulsiveness. We know from our understanding of behavioral science and psychiatry that stress, anxiety in life is dealt with by our defense mechanisms. However, sometimes our defense mechanisms fail or are inadequate. And in this case, the body, we develop what is called releasers. So we have stressors and releasers. Example, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Obsessive, there is some thought, something that is obsessing the mind, that the mind is imprisoned by. The mind cannot just escape the ruminations, the consistency and persistency of these thoughts. So how does a person release the stress? By the compulsive act, sometimes hand washing. Now let me tell you something. If you are a USMLE student preparing for this exam, pause. I will say a word. Let's listen to your response. USMLE. I'm sure your heartbeat went up a few beats there. Have you noticed that when you're studying for this exam, the more stressed you are, the more the pages that you are reading are complicated and complex and you're not understanding it well, the more you highlight, the harder you press on the highlighter. This is your releaser. That's the compulsion. Yes. Now, what do we want to learn from this? Now, my friends, when we set an objective in life, the very act of deciding and setting an objective can be a very anxious, anxiety-ridden experience. Now, if you refer to my previous blog, I talked about management of life. I talked about management of time, management of resources, and management of relationship. And I said that there are three things that are important: appropriateness, effectiveness, and efficiency. Objectives must be appropriate. So in setting an objective, if I'm not appropriate, if I'm not taking into consideration the factors of time, resource, and relationship, that in itself builds anxiety. Then there is what I call the post-objective anxiety. So we have the pre-objective anxiety, we have the post-objective anxiety. You've set your objective. I want to score 250 on the step 1 exam. Going through that process of setting are the doubts in my mind, the anxiety. Now I've set that objective. I'm going to allocate the time, I'm going to allocate the resources, I'm going to manage my relationships towards that objective. Now there is a post-objective anxiety that I have to deal with. And this post-objective anxiety very often can lead us astray. In other words, have you heard the story of the 6 blind men and the elephant? You haven't. That's an essential story in kindergarten. How could you have graduated kindergarten and not study this story? Let me remind you of this story. 6 blind men walking in a forest. God knows why they're blind. Why are they in a forest? But so the story goes. As they walked in the forest, they happened upon an elephant. But being blind, they do not know it's an elephant. The first of the blind men grabbed the trunk of the elephant. Of course, he's blind. He doesn't know. So he said to his friends, "My friends, it's plain to see. Even a blind man can tell this is the trunk of a tree." The other blind man grabbed the tail of the elephant. Being blind, he doesn't know. And he remarked to his friends, "Oh no, my friends, you are wrong. This is a rope to swing from tree to tree." And the third grabbed the ears of the elephant, describing it as a fan to keep yourself cool on a hot and humid day in the forest, and so on. What's the lesson here? Not having the big picture, the objective, we get caught up in the details and can misplace the details. Now, there's commonality. They're all in a forest. They describe everything in relation to the forest. But sometimes, because of anxiety, the details become the objective, and the objective is lost. I've come across many students who will spend hours and hours and hours over a small detail that has no serious impact or significant impact on their overall performance or score. This is when the releaser, the excessive highlighting, is getting into the way. The excessive note-taking is getting into the way. This is when we are worshipping at the altar of details and forgetting the elephant, the big picture, the objective. Today I want you to understand that life is a challenge, and this challenge is a beautiful experience, but we must be able to see the big elephant. We must be able to have the big objective, and we must be able to understand that the means to the end is not the end. The details can change. Each detail, whilst important, is not the objective. And do not let details distract you from the objective. This is important, my friend. And today's message, as you prepare for your exam or any other thing in life, are you consciously aware of your objective? Are you recognizing the details, and are you able to keep the details from becoming the objective? I hope you enjoyed this talk. I enjoy talking with you and sharing my ideas. Let's talk again soon.